We continue our tour of the Jaguars coaching search targets. That includes one Liam Coen, currently the Buccaneers offensive coordinator. But first and foremost, Happy New Year, Evan. Thank you so much for pinch hitting and hopping on with us.
Yeah, anytime. You know that.
Appreciate you, brother, man. Hey, so let's get right to it. Liam Coen is not only a name that certainly plenty listening here on the Superstation today are enticed by, but is also a name that I've seen you since August banging the drum for. Give us the 30,000-foot view, the grassroots level view of what makes him not only a great offensive coordinator, but hate to do it, but the ultimate cliche, a great leader of men.
Yeah, well, let me say this. When it comes to Liam Coen, what I loved so much about watching his offense this season is how he was able to adapt to the talent around him. And I think that is a mark of a great coach, because anyone can go out there, have a system, and say, hey, do this, and even if it doesn't work, this is what we're running, right? I don't think that's good coaching. I think good coaching is able to recognize the talent you have around you and then meld the offense or mold it to the way that it should be that fits their best strengths. So let's talk about Liam Coen entering the season. He wanted to go 11 personnel, hurry up, and it was supposed to look a certain way, right? And then, Chris Godwin goes down, or the zone running scheme. You know what? This isn't really working. Our guys aren't having a lot of success there early in the season. They're like, oh, these gap runs. Wow, they're really popping off for us. What if we threw more gap runs into this offense? So as the season progressed, we saw more gap runs. As the season progressed, you saw that the Buccaneers were one of the best running teams in the NFL because they were leaning into a strength of theirs. Then you realize that Godwin goes down, Mike goes down. All right, throughout this whole season, we're going from 11 personnel, hurry up, to we're going to have to change out personnel constantly. We're going to have the pony package where we have Rashad and Bucky in there. Let's try to get our two running backs because they're so good. Let's put them on the field and try to get them into open space. We saw 12 personnel. We saw 13 personnel at some times. So just he presents so much at defenses, and he makes them defend every blade of grass. That's north and south, east and west. He really stretches you to think about what is going to happen, and a lot of plays look similar but then have different functions. So I think that he's a dynamo coach, a dynamo offensive mind, and maybe the one weakness that I would say, maybe the only weakness I would say from his first year in Tampa Bay, there were execution issues throughout the year. And that's why you saw so many turnovers from this team, and you saw it in the worst way possible on the biggest stage, which is partly the reason why they're out of the playoffs right now.
Evan, there's a phrase that we use and / talk about a lot in the NFL, and that is the Sean McVay tree. This is a name we link to that also. Are there similarities that you see in how he likes to scheme things? I know you just went into detail of the scheme in general, but we know Sean McVay when it comes to tight ends and when it comes to running backs, when it comes to all these different things. And do you see similarities in how they kind of run and like to run the offenses?
Yeah, and I think that Sean McVay also, that's the thing, too. Sean McVay has really kind of evolved throughout his time as a head coach and has also had to adapt to the talent around him and what they do. And you've seen kind of more recently that, even with McVay, Shanahan, what they want to do is they want to be run-first teams. We don't really think about that as much because they have these, stellar quarterbacks traditionally, not necessarily Shanahan. He's still searching for that before, he got Brock Purdy finally. But, especially with Liam Coen, I thought that Liam actually, while they had a dominant rushing attack, I think sometimes in the game script of things or the game flow, he would get a little bit pass heavy because that's really Baker, kind of ride Baker a little bit and roll with the hot hand. But you'll definitely see a similar strand of offense with what you see with the Rams and McVay versus what you see with Liam and the Bucs. And honestly, it's becoming a little bit more omnipresent in the NFL of just sort of that tree. McVay, Shanahan, just like those are the most successful offenses, which is why these guys are constantly getting head coaching gigs, which means that we're seeing them everywhere. And you're still seeing other offensive coordinators elsewhere who might not be a head coach in future, such as like a Zach Robinson out in Atlanta, right? It's constantly, taking over team by team, and very potentially the Jacksonville Jaguars might be on that train soon.
And I'm glad you mentioned the execution issues because we saw that here a lot this season. And so there was the debate of, is it Press Taylor's offense or is it the lack of execution by the actual players on the field? And so certainly we saw the fumble by Baker and then also the snap count issues as well. So where do you think the blame falls? Does it fall on Liam Coen? Do you think it falls more on the players? Is it a mixture of both?
Yeah, I think it's a mixture of both. I think it's very easy. I think the strongest, the most ardent Liam Coen supporters will blame it on the players, and then I think there are other people who say, well, the players are a byproduct of the coaching, so that's got to be their fault. In the end, right, it's, part of it is it Liam Cohen's fault that Graham Barton just has a brain fart and snaps the ball too early on a 3rd and inches situation in the playoffs? No. Is it Liam's fault that Bucky Irving fumbles in Atlanta or Rachaad White fumbles in Dallas? No, but when you keep stacking it up, and Baker keeps falling into some similar traps with the turnovers, the interceptions. Baker fumbled the ball. He didn't lose all of them, but his fumble number was just insane. I mean, like close to 20. I forget what it is. I lost count. But it's the thing that Liam did when he entered the season, he told this to the media. He said, I'm going to throw everything at them, and, we're not going to coddle or hold them back. We're going to give them the entire repertoire of what we work with, and we're going to go from there. And I think what you saw in year one was an offense dealing with the entire repertoire of things. And in doing so, it's really tough to be detailed year one and nail everything the way that it's supposed to be as if you were doing it for years and years. So I think that over time, if, hypothetically Liam were to be in the same offense or to be a head coach somewhere and build upon a system and a personnel and do this and that, I think you'll see a lot of those details and execution issues thinned out. But entering year one, it was very evident that the turnovers and the details and the penalties and all these things, they were starting to add up as the year went on. And Liam Coen certainly has to bear some of the blame for that, and he recognizes that. But, it is also on the players to make sure they're doing their job too.
You can find Evan on X at Closky, WTSP. I am definitely dyslexic and said WSTP earlier. It is it's CBS. It
happens to the best of us.
CBS affiliate, correct? Did I get that one right at least?
Yeah.
Yes, the CBS affiliate on Channel 10 in Tampa Town. He joins us on the Garber Auto Mall hotline. Evan, we're going to actually throw a curveball at you here momentarily. I know my wonderful co-hosts here are very excited to ask you about your Buckeyes, a proud Ohio State grad. So we'll pepper you with some of those questions, but to put a bow on the Liam Coen conversation, yes, we've seen the tweets. I've heard the fan base in Tampa, the clamoring, the groundswell for, is Todd Bowles good enough for what Buccaneers fans hope to eventually accomplish and the standard that's been set there, and the idea of, well, we can't let Liam Coen walk out the door. Mm-hmm. Evan, let's settle this once and for all. Is Todd Bowles on the hot seat?
The real question is, and I think what the debate is for fans and what I'm trying to help them see is that I think if you were to tell the fan base, hey, I can guarantee you that Todd Bowles and Liam Coen are coming back next season, would you sign up for that? I guarantee you the majority of Buccaneers fans would say, yes, I would. But if you tell Buccaneers fans, hey, if Liam Coen leaves this offseason and, that means you're keeping Todd Bowles and, that's the Sophie's choice you have to make, Todd Bowles or Liam Coen, the majority are going to say we want Liam Coen. So I'm not 100% sure to say that, I don't think Todd Bowles is necessarily on the hot seat, but if the Glazers and Jason Light get to a point where Liam Coen is hitting the final stages here of taking this Jaguars job, let's say, I'm not 100% certain that they wouldn't pull the rug out from Todd and say, look, this guy is 39. He's got a long runway ahead of him. You're a 61-year-old head coach. You're not going to, you mentioned he's not going to coach forever. And so when factoring in the future, is it really smart to let someone like Liam go? So I don't want to say hot seat, but I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that Todd Bowles is 100% moving into the offseason as the head coach. I think that this decision with Liam is extremely important, And the discussion we're having are the same ones that Jason Light and the Glazers are having, of watching the world around them, view Liam, and seeing if they're going to have to make a move that maybe necessarily they don't want to make, but they get forced into.
Hey, Nia here, and thanks so much for watching 1010XL Jaguars. For even more coverage of the Big Cats, be sure to subscribe to 1010XL Jaguars.